Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. I'm filming this earlier than I normally do because there's a strong chance of thunderstorms later this afternoon and evening, and I wanted to go ahead and get Weekly Reads done before any sort of power outages could be possible. I've had a really great reading week. I read 2 books, both of which were fantastic. And I'm about to start a new one, so see how it goes. Anyway, let's get going. So the first book I read this week was Bill Redemption, and it was a successful one, and I'm extremely happy about that. And that was of The Chancellor, The Remarkable Odyssey of Angela Merkel by Katie Marton. So obviously this is a biography of Angela Merkel, who was the first female Chancellor of Germany. She was Chancellor from 2005 to 2021, one of the longest serving chancellors, and a remarkable woman, just absolutely remarkable. So the book covers her life from her childhood up through her stepping down as chancellor, and it's really good. I think when I built on it last year, I was rather annoyed by Martin's occasional sort of inclusion of aspects of her own life in communist Hungary that I thought was maybe didn't quite work. But I think on this, maybe she could have left them out, but on the whole, it wasn't so distracting that I had to bail. I really enjoyed this book. It was amazing, particularly once Angela Merkel became a politician, and her rise to the chancellorship was amazing. And Angela Merkel is, I would say, one of the best politicians of the 21st century. So it was a great book. I really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed Idi Amin, The Story of Africa's Icon of Evil by Mark Leopold. This is a weird biography, in part because the story around Idi Amin is weird. Idi Amin was a Ugandan soldier who rose to becoming the head of the Ugandan army shortly after independence, and in 1971 he enacted a coup that saw him become the president of Uganda for 9 years, from 1971 to 1979. And Amin became rather infamous for his antics, and this sort of built up a mythology in which he was depicted as being exceptionally bad, exceptionally monstrous. And Leopold tries to sort of weed through that mythology to try to figure out, okay, what can we know, not only about Idi Amin's life, but also about his presidency. Was it, were the casualties nearly 500,000, or were they less? Why exactly has Idi Amin become an icon of evil when his predecessor and successor, Milton Obote, killed more people, and where any number of dictators in Africa and around the world are as bad, if not worse, than Amin was? So it was fascinating, although at times a bit frustrating, particularly the introduction and afterward, where, and also during the early life, which we know practically nothing about, where more dubious sources or sort of focus on a bit more than they probably should be. But once there were surer sources, the book became a lot better, a lot more sort of, it flowed a lot nicer. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. My only critique, I think, would be the usage of Freudian psychobabble, which doesn't really help much. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed this book as well. Really fascinating. So yeah. So what's coming up? So today I'm going to start on You Never Forget Your First, a biography of George Washington by Alexis Coe. This is a very short biography of George Washington. I could probably, if I decided to hold off until tomorrow, I would finish it on Saturday because it's like 200 pages. So I will definitely get a good chunk of it done today and then probably very quickly finish it tomorrow. So that gives me certainly Sunday and probably a bit of Saturday too to read something. So I'm thinking of reading some poetry. Now I haven't had the best poetry experience this year. I think, part of it could be I'm a lot less enthusiastic about classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction poetry and drama as I was towards the end of last year. So it could be that my interest is waning. It could also be that while I don't have as paltry a poetry collection as I used to have, it's still small enough that I've read all of them already several times, and that familiarity could also kind of engender being tired of it and being more critical of it. So it could be one of the two. But I do want to try to grapple with some more poetry at the end of April since it is National Poetry Month. So I think if I have time, I will reread Tanto Tanto by Marina Carreira, which is a collection that I really enjoyed when I read it late last year. And also The River Twice by Kathleen Graeber, which I don't actually know if I've read yet. I know I picked up 4 books from Princeton University Press during their 75% off sale, but I know I've read 2 of them. I don't know if I've read a third. So might get to this one if I have time. But I definitely want to, on Sunday, reread A Little More Red Sun on the Human by Gillian Conoley. This is a collection of her, a selection of her poetry that I read last year and really enjoyed and would like to revisit it. So looking forward to that. And finally, once May starts, I'm going to start May with A Tomb of Sand by Geetanjali Shree, translated by Daisy Rockwell. I picked up this novel for my 12 TBR, and while the rest of the 12 TBR kind of foundered except for The 7 Moons of Molly Almeida, when I did try a chapter tag of the remaining books, I really liked what I read of Tomb of Sand, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. So I'm going to start May with Tomb of Sand. Anyway, so that's what I read and my reading plans for next week. Sorry if I'm a bit rushed. Obviously, there is a storm chance coming, so there are a few things I want to try to get done in addition to filming this video before then. And I don't know, I'm feeling weird, and I guess I ought to, over the course of later this evening and over the weekend, kind of really think about that and why, and then maybe make a video about it or not, depending. I'm not the best at making discussion videos, so anyway, but it's just Yeah. So anyway, BookTube, that's all I got for this week. I'll be back next week with maybe a May TBR, some tag videos, depending how things turn out. And there are also a lot of tags coming up lately. Might do a cook the book video, which I'll talk about when I actually make the video. And of course, weekly reads. So anyway, BookTube, until next week, thank you. Have a great afternoon and evening, and stay safe.